right, you guys. So today I want to react to this story that I saw on X of a Black conservative who was visiting a local coffee shop. And the coffee shop owner essentially crashed out and asked him to leave after discovering that he was a conservative and held conservative viewpoints, particularly his position on pro-life. The coffee shop owner asked him to leave because she did not feel safe and she felt that his presence there was harmful and traumatic and needed him to go because he was conservative. I don't know if it was just because he was Black or Black and conservative, and had a just human type regard for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I don't know, but I want to go ahead and play the clip. I have a perspective on this that is a little unique and different from what you may think. Let's take a listen.
Thank you for having me.
What happened?
Well, I got to tell you, Maria, I never thought I would make international news for being a Florida man kicked out of a restaurant over my conservative values, but that's exactly what happened. But what happened is some friends of mine, some people that I'm just getting to know that live in my building, invited me off to this Paradise Books and Breads. Never been there, never heard of it. I go in, they're immediately asking me questions. How do you like working over at Fox News? Are you a conservative? And I say, yes, I am. Actually, I have a book out called Taken for Granted, How Conservatism Can Win Back the Americans Liberalism Had Failed. Get the book. And we talked about my brother, how he was murdered in Chicago last year in June, last month or yesterday made 7 months since he's been murdered. And a number of other issues like my pro-life stance, about progressive DAs who are exacerbating the crime issue. And the owner comes over to the table and says, I've been listening to your conversation. You are not welcomed here. And I said, oh, wow, did I say something that triggered you? She said, no, we are not politically aligned. I don't feel comfortable. You have to leave. I own this place. Wow. So I stood up, walked off from the table, shell-shocked, completely shell-shocked, because I've never had that experience before. And I went online and tweeted immediately after, and it got 2.5 million views and went viral.
So listen, I have owned a retail establishment before, and I did not know that one of the conditions under which that you need to do business and to engage with your customer base is that y'all have to be politically aligned. There is some emotional immaturity here. There is some liberal a mind virus that has overtaken this country because these individuals are unable to just view politics as just that. Now, I get it. The left and the right are so diametrically opposed at the worldview level that it is deeper than just politics. However, when you own a business, a public-facing business, if the expectation is that the people who come in and buy your widget or your product or experience your service need to be politically aligned, then you're going to have a very difficult time attracting customers because everybody is not going to be politically aligned with you. It is a very immature and juvenile way to view the world. So on the outset, Giano provides a summation of what happened. He's out with some friends. They're drinking coffee. They obviously recognize him as a Fox News contributor and ask him about his experience there. And then the next thing you know, she's like, you got to go because we're not politically aligned. He asked, did I say something to trigger you? And she was like, no. Nothing triggered me, just you being here, me knowing your worldview and what you think and believe about a myriad of issues. You're just not welcome here. So I'm going to play a little bit more and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cook. I'm going to cook today because I want Americans, Black, white, green, purple, and Asian. I want you guys to think rightly about this, and I don't want you to be outraged about this and believe that something legislatively needs to be done to address this.
I am disturbed what I'm seeing from folks, and I think this is a microcosm of what we're seeing across the country.
Well, it is. How many people were you in the group? I mean, were you talking loudly? I mean, it was a total of 5 of us, including a woman. So
They've made things like, oh yeah, we didn't like what they said about women and something about eugenics or something like that. And I'm telling them I'm pro-life. Like, what is it that made you feel uncomfortable? I imagine it did, because for some on the left, intolerance has become the norm, not the exception. So they want you to capitulate to all of their views, no matter what it is. But if you say, I believe in God, and I talked about my faith in God while I was there as well, if you say that I'm pro-life, then it's a problem. There's a target on your back. And let alone, don't let you be black in saying these things. You got to go, because you are now someone who's an enemy to your race. And that's how a lot of these liberal left-leaning people think. It is extraordinarily reprehensible. And I am thankful that since this is all taking place, that they've shut their doors down at least into next month. But I think there should be a real investigation into this, because this shouldn't happen to anyone. And I imagine if I didn't have the platform that I have, if I didn't work at Fox News, no one would know about it, no one would care, and they would get away with this. So I imagine how many other restaurants across the country are doing this exact thing.
So this woke.
Okay, so I wanted you guys to hear the breadth of what Giano had to say. And while I respect Giano Caldwell, in fact, I'm sure we will cross paths, and we may have been in the same room. I think he was at the White House. I can't remember, but he and I have never spoken. We've never engaged. And while I do respect him, I am going to respectfully push back and disagree on something that he said. He says, if I didn't have my platform and if I wasn't on Fox News, these people would have been able to get away with it. And in my opinion, I don't believe this is something that needs to be investigated. I know y'all are like, what you saying now? Listen, I want to be consistent, but I want to give you a perspective that you may not have considered before as it relates to this. This woman got so ideologically unhinged that she asked a paying customer to leave her business. And yes, it is immature. Absolutely. It is bad business, and it is just, in my opinion, emotionally incontinent behavior. However, let me tell you what I'm not about to do this. One, I don't want to teach my children or the people who listen to me or just Black people in general that we need to be crying over rejection from people who clearly don't value us, whether it's because you're Black or because you're Christian or because you're conservative or a woman. No, a self-respecting person, you don't need to beg to remain where you're not welcome. If a person is telling you, like, you're not, picking up from the context clues, but he or she or they are coming out and they're saying, you're not welcome here. We don't force ourselves into spaces where the hostility is obvious. Absolutely not. No self-respecting person says, oh, so you don't want me here? Well, now we need to investigate you and now we need to shut you down. I'm not saying it was right or appropriate. It was absolutely foolish and stupid. And I'm going to explain to you just how stupid it is and how capitalism will be the great equalizer here. But a self-respecting person, one that understands the dignity and the value and the respect that they should receive, would say, you know what? Thank you for the information, and then take their money and go elsewhere. I'm not about to make a big stink about it. I'm not about to get on the TikTok, the Instagram, the X, the internet, Fox News, or the like. Why? The marketplace. It is the great equalizer. You don't need to hold a sit-in at the latte bar. You don't have to do that. You don't need to emotionally collapse because some politically deranged barista queen is having a meltdown just over your existence. You know what you do? This is what you do. It's so simple. You gather your things and you pay your bill and then you leave. You just need to leave and you let capitalism do what capitalism does. If she is in business to sell coffee, she should have kept her feelings out of the espresso machine and went over there and focused on serving cappuccino and crumpets. But when people become so ideologically possessed that they can't distinguish between a customer and a threat, they deserve whatever business consequences come with it. Now, in this instance, because of his platform, he has put the spotlight on her business. And for whatever reason, we don't know if the two are connected, but she's been shut down. But I want to talk about this story and why I understand Giano's sentiments. Like, this is wrong, and I should be able to come in here and spend my money and not be harassed. I'm not blessing or providing any sort of cover or acceptance for what happened to you. I want to deal with the response. I want to deal with how particularly Black Americans, and now in this context, conservatives, how we need to stop confusing access with dignity. The two are not related. And so here in this particular situation, this video is making the rounds because this lady decided to crash out. Okay, she didn't like what Giano Caldwell represented ideologically. And on the surface, I get it. People are going to treat this like it's some kind of grand moral catastrophe. To be clear, let me reiterate this. I agree that her response was wholly unnecessary and, as a business owner, just stupid. Like I said, if somebody walks in your establishment and they're ready to spend their money, your first thought should not be, what political party did you vote for? It should be, what can I get for you? How can I serve you? Not, let me try to discern your voting record before I pour this dark roast cup of coffee. It is stupid, it is childish, and frankly, it's bad business. But my angle on this, I understand. You ain't used to seeing or hearing Negroes speak and function in their freedom like this. So what I'm about to do is hope that I can win you to my side. I know it's going to frustrate you. Why? We've been taught from the civil rights movement on forward that if someone doesn't want you there, that you need to act like a stalker and press your way in and demand. But I want Black Americans or conservatives, I don't want us to get emotional or outraged about moments like this. Because once somebody makes it clear that you are not welcomed, all you need to do is believe them. Do not argue with them. Do not beg. Do not whine. Do not cry. Do not perform some emotional protest simply because someone doesn't want you in their space. You leave. And you leave with your head up high and your dignity intact. Why? Because there's something deeply disordered about insisting on staying or demanding that someone give you access where you are clearly not wanted. Only bullies and stalkers try to force their way into spaces like that. Only a sick mind, I believe it was Muhammad Ali who says, listen, only a sick mind wants to be somewhere where they're not wanted. For you to think, I know they don't want me here, but I'm going to make you deal with me anyway, that is not normal behavior. Now, I've shown you this clip. And most people are going to be like, they need to be shut down. Somebody needs to sue. We've got civil rights legislation in place for this. And all of those things may be true. That may be true. However, why would any self-respecting person want to remain in a place where this owner made it painfully clear that they don't want them there? Like, what exactly are we fighting for at this point? A muffin? A chocolate croissant? What do you want? Do you want a symbolic victory over somebody with poor emotional regulation? We need to stop acting like rejection is the worst thing in the world. No. Sometimes rejection is information. You're gathering information. It's providing you the clarity that you needed. And it's somebody saving you the time and the money by telling you exactly who they are. And when people show you who they are, the mature response is, we're not going to emotionally collapse. No, we're going to have a spirit of gratitude and say, thank you for making it clear. Thank you for letting me know. Now I know what kind of character you have. Thank you for showing me that your politics matter more to you than basic decency and earning a living. Thanks for showing me that your business model is apparently built on ideological fragility instead of just good customer service because it's coffee. Everybody likes coffee. But that useful piece of information goes a long way, because here's the thing. I believe that one of the greatest problems in our modern culture is that people have confused being admitted with being valued. Like, we equate access into spaces with, well, I'm valued because of this. To me, those two things are not the same. Why? Just because someone lets you in a room, it doesn't mean that they respect you. Just because you can buy something from someone doesn't mean that they honor your humanity. And just because they're like, okay, we're going to allow you to remain physically in this space, it doesn't mean that you should. We should have some discernment. Here's what I think. I think all individuals, but particularly Black Americans, we need to stop acting like every instance of rejection requires public grief counseling. It just doesn't. Sometimes the right response is simply heard, got it, say less, and then turn around and never come back. Never come back. The marketplace is the great equalizer in these circumstances. I want y'all to understand the bigger issue here. The reason I don't think stories like this actually require legislation, and we definitely don't need to spiral into outrage, is because this is America. And the marketplace is the great equalizer. For example, like this woman, even though I think it's stupid, she is free to feel however she wants to feel. She's free to be offended, ideologically rigid. She is free to allow her politics to dictate which customers she serves and which ones she don't. She's free to think that every conservative customer is some kind of walking assault on her emotions. Fine, have at it. But she is not. She is not free from the consequences. And that is the beauty of capitalism. You don't need to destroy her as an individual. I don't even want people to silence her. I want her to be loud and proud about her rigidness. We don't need people to say, people like this shouldn't exist. Why not? They should. Let her exist. Let her run the business exactly how she wants. If she wants to advertise to the entire public that she's willing to turn away paying customers because she lacks the emotional intelligence to interact with adults who think differently than she does, then fine. Let the market decide. That's it. That's the response. Because if she's in business to sell coffee and not ideas, then she should understand something very basic and simple. People are not coming in the shop to submit to her ideology. They are coming in for coffee. That's it. They want dark roast, not a political lecture. They don't care about how bad the orange man is. They want a breakfast blend and don't want to come in to have their worldview screened. Cream and sugar, not a political purity test. But this is what happens. When your ideology becomes a religion, people stop seeing human beings as customers and they start seeing them as symbols of moral contamination. And that is a very unserious way to run a business. So if that's how she wants to run her business, let the market decide. If she can't distinguish between selling beverages and fighting some imaginary revolution, then whatever happens next to her, that's on her. That's on her. So what is the moral of this story? The moral of this story is twofold. One, stop chasing acceptance. We've been conditioned to believe that being unwanted somewhere automatically is a wound to your identity. And I reject that. Everybody doesn't have to want you and everybody doesn't have to like you, and you need to be okay with that. If they don't affirm you, so what? What has God said about you? Everyone doesn't have to welcome you into their little ideological clubhouse. So what? Why would I diminish myself by demanding acceptance from people who've already shown themselves to be small-minded and ignorant? I don't want what they're selling. I'm not about to fight to sit in a place where I'm being made to feel small. Absolutely not. I want to be invited. It is beneath me for me to sit there and torture you to serve me when you don't want to. When you don't want to, no, I'm not doing that. I want to be like, hey, come have a seat at my table. Look what's on our menu. We want to make sure you have a good time. The stronger posture from us, whether it's blacks or just conservatives or anybody, should be, if you don't want me here, understood. You don't never have to worry about me giving you another dollar ever. You'll never get another ounce of my attention, and I'm not going to lose 1 second of sleep over your ideological dysfunction. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave me your comments down in the box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace. I'm April Chapman.
And I'm Vince Everett Ellison. There's a victim narrative here in the United States of America that says you have no control over your lives, no control over your agency. And they're basically saying that you're an animal, that you're a slave. I don't believe that. I don't think it's ever been the case. As an heir of Jesus Christ and as a child of God, I cannot be oppressed. I cannot be a victim. I do not think I am, nor do I think that any American ever has been, or any person. Even when it comes to slavery, I believe, and I think they hold true, that slavery was a choice. You know how I know? Because people are choosing to be slaves now. So I'm making a documentary to debunk the myth that any human being or any American is held under bondage without their permission, even if they have to kill or give their lives to be free. Freedom is a choice, and slavery is a choice also.
We're asking you to partner with us. We are here. We have begun filming Slavery is a Choice, and it's an incredible documentary that outlines Vince's argument to prove to the world that slavery is absolutely a choice. I've partnered with him in the executive producer position, and we are appealing to our audience, you guys, those who watch us faithfully every single week, to help us bring this film to market. We've begun a crowdfunding campaign, and we're going to link the opportunity in the description below for you to partner with us and give any amount to help us bring this project to market. Slavery is absolutely a choice, and we know that slavery is a choice because we're choosing it today with many of the decisions that we continue to make to our own detriment. So we're hoping that you guys will partner with us, and we want to bring this film to market in summer of 2026. So click the link down below, and I'm April Chapman.
And I'm Vince Everett Ellison. Freedom is a choice, but in order to be free, you must be brave. In order to not be a slave, you must believe in Jesus Christ. So believe in freedom, believe in courage, be courageous, assist us in this project, and let's set and make other people free by being true blue Americans, true blue patriots, true blue Christians, believing in ourselves and believing in the future ahead. Thank you.